In this video, we're going to focus on one of the viewers' questions, which is how to display in the legend box x value and y value and any other values in the labels. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about here. This was a question from one of our viewers that watched this video here about how to hide grid lines in Chart.js 3. And then if I scroll down here, you can find here the question, and a special thank you for yvalue. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce your name correctly, for asking the question here. So this is the following what yvalue said or asked. I'm only able to display x value as legend label, but same row. I want to display the y value and other data. How can I do that in Chart.js 3? So basically here, and then another add-on here was how to add or display custom data to the legend label. All right. Let's start and go back here. So basically, he's referring to this here, and you might see here, this is only one single legend here, so we need to adjust this one. So let's try and adjust this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this to a pie chart, because now it's become more interesting. If I save this, we have like this. So I assume that your current situation is probably a pie chart with these labels here, unless you have a bar chart. You can put it back to bar chart, but you might have multiple labels consisting here with multiple data sets. So you have maybe another data set, comma, and then here, and then maybe this would be vote 2, etc., etc. If I save this, you would see here we have vote 1 or votes, number of votes, and number of votes 2. So this might be another case as well. I guess, and I'm not certain, but I guess because based on your question here, you have a display x value and then you have a display y value, and I saw that this was just like a text. In one of your other comments you refer to that, so I assume that's the case here. So what we're going to do is here, we'll just go back here, we'll convert this to a pie chart. Alright, let's start on answering this question immediately. So I saved this as pie chart, but I want to make sure that the width of this chart is smaller, so we can let's make it more visible. Oh, all right. You can see here this is a double chart, so let's remove one of these excess data sets. So we have two data sets here, so that's why it's a multiple or multi-level pie chart. There we are. All right. So what we're going to do is the following, because here's the thing: you're not able to solve this basically with the current situation what we have here. This legend, I've been running through the documentation of Chart.js as well. It's not possible. So what you have to do is you have to create a new legend, which is an HTML version. And from there on, we can combine multiple things together. So I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do it. We're going to loop through it. So let's start. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create here a for loop. And in this for loop, we're going to loop through the data points here that we want to know, or we want to have maybe these labels. This is basically the array where we can work with, and this array will give us the amount of times we need to loop, and then we can eventually add maybe the label. We can even add here the value at the back, and maybe something in the front as well. Whatever you want, some static text, no problem at all. Alright, for loop, I equals 0. So this is our, the I stands for iteration, so we iterate it. Iteration means repeating yourself multiple times. All right, so say we iterate, but we keep on iterating it or repeating ourselves until, well, we need this here. We want to have the length of this, so I get here the my chart. What we can do is the following: say a constant my chart dot. Oh, sorry, no, this is the label or legend length equals my chart dot data, and then in data we can say here, then after we get the labels. So now we get this here. Oh, what did I do? Sorry, labels. All right, this here is what we need. So we say here the legend length dot length. All right, once we do this, we know the length of this array. So if you want to check this, if I'm correct, we can just confirm this by just doing here console.log, and we say here legend length. Put it in here, save this, refresh, Open up the developer tab. You can see we have an array of 6 data points. There you are. That's correct. All right. So we're here now. Correct. We can continue on. Remove here these comments. All right. Next one here. Incremental. Incremental +1 basically every time we iterate. So now we have this. We're here now. All right. So what we need to do here is we need to create basically new items in here because we want to remove this. We want to make our own box. We need to make our own box with our own text with any other values we want in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick sample here what we want, and then we say here ID. This will be the ID, and I will say this will be the legend. Well, the ID of the legend. That's fine. And then class could be legend box. All right. So within here, we will have a div. And this div, we will have maybe a specific class. We can say here maybe item or legend item. And in here, once we have this, basically these will be looped consistently with the amount of labels we have. But then what we have here is basically a span or paragraph. That's a paragraph. You can say here span. To make a span, that's also possible. So we are going to create many items. This is right now I'm making a hard-coded version. We need to soft-code it afterwards. So we're going to create here span. Maybe this would be a, we can give this a class, and this class could specify a height and width. So this will be maybe the color circle. I have no idea. I'm just making up the names. And here I'm going to give it a class. It's color circle. Color circle. And this one will be height 20 pixels, width 20 pixels. And then we say here background color. I'll just give it a nice simple background color here and save it in green. Alright. But let's see if this works because I'm not certain because of the span that it might be not as what I desire to get. Do I have a span here? Well, let's see here. I'm going to put in some text. If I put in the text here A, and I will do here A. Save that. We have that one. Alright, but if I remove this and save that. Alright, so that doesn't work, and there's a reason for that, of course, because it's a display. Well, we need to make it a display. We can do this. I'm not sure if it's a flex is the right one. We could do flex, or we can do display inline block. Save that. There we are. So now we have the inline block. That would look nice. And then we say here border radius 20 pixels. So why inline block? Because it's a inline style. Inline style, the display inline doesn't allow height and width. So basically, it will automatically get whatever is the content in. But we have no content in this color circle. We should just have a circle. So this is the reason why we need a block. All right. So we have this one here. There we are. So that looks slightly better. Now we're done with that. So then we have a next one here. This will be another span. And basically in this span, we are going to put in the text. So we say a span. I'll call this class L text for legend, just to keep it short so it's easier. And maybe here, this would be L circle. That's maybe more appropriate. It's not color circle, but L circle. All right. So I will not adjust anything on this one here. You can do it if you want by putting it in here. But for me, I will not spend too much time on that. Alright, so next one I'm going to do here. This will be basically the color. Let's say red. But what we want as well in here is some text. So we could say here, or was that the values? Let's say x20, y, or x was this value here. And then we could say here y20, and then maybe here, I don't know, $sign or something like that, or USD. I have no idea. So we're just making up stories. So just making it up basically, but assuming that you have certain data you want to put in here, hard-coded, soft-coded, doesn't matter. All right, so we've got this now. The next thing what we want to do is this basically needs to be converted into the legend here, and then eventually when we click on it, it should respond like this as well later on. So let's start and work on this. So I'm going to grab this here. We're going to use it as our model for here below. So we put this in here. I'll just make this a comment out so it will not look weird. So in here, what we need to do now is to use the create element. All right. Why? We're going to loop through it. We're looping through this, but we need to create an element every single time for every data point. So what we're going to do here, we'll say here, what are we going to do? Oh, first of all, we need to make sure we want to insert it in this legend ID. So here, constant, you say legend equals document dot get element by ID. And then we say here legend. All right. So once we've got that, the next thing what we want to do is eventually this. We have this here. We have the circle. All right. So we're going to say here constant, and then we say here the following. We can say, well, I'm going to copy consistently the same terms here depending on what we have. I will say here legend, so L paragraph equals. Let me say here document dot create element with capital letter E. And then here, we need to put in the capital P for the paragraph. That's number one. So we're going to create this element, which is this one here. What we're going to do more is we're going to create another, let's see, 1, 2 more, basically. So we say this one, this is the legend span or legend circle. That's probably the most appropriate one, circle. And we say here, this will be a span. All right. And then we have another one. And this one will be the L text. And L text is also a span, so that's fine. So now we've got this. So the only thing what we want to do next is basically this. We want to put in the classes in here. So what we're going to do here, the classes, that's what we need to do. And after we need to put in the text, if ever. So we say here the following. We're going to give this L circle should get the proper class. So we say here, L circle dot, and then we say here, class name dot add, and then I'm not always sure with this. I think it's this one with the parentheses, and then we put in here what is the class name will be quotations L circle. Very straightforward, very easy to follow. All right. So for this one here, we do exactly the same, but then we pinpoint the L text span. Put it in here, and then we say here will be L text for legend text. All right. So once we have this, what we can do here is we can add them. We're going to append them basically to here. And appending means attach. So we will attach them here. So we say here legend item, which we have, or sorry, not even legend item. The legend, we have this one here. We have the legend item. I realize that we have it duplicated. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to delete this legend item here. We can just get this one here. We have the legend itself. Get element ID legend. And then in here we say the legend, and then we say dot append. Append means attach. Yes, but this is the parent. Alright, so we say append child, and the child is basically which one here. Well, in this case, no quotation needed because we have here the variable here. So we say here append child. So if this is the father or the father, mother, parent is probably the right term. We have to append the paragraph first. Remember what we had here first. The paragraph is a child of the legend, and these two are children of the paragraph. So that's what we're going to do. So we say here append child, and then we get here the following is the paragraph. And then what we will do is the following here is, copy that, do this, append child. Well, we don't have to append the legend anymore, but we want to have the LP, which is the legend paragraph, and the legend paragraph have two children. The first one we want to show is the circle. So we're going to grab the circle, put it in there. And the second one what we want to add up is the L text. So afterwards, we will append the text. Alright, so once we've got that, we can now start to see how this will show up. So we have the legend, and then we have these, all of these together. So, this should not be LP. Oh yeah, that's correct. This should be LP. All right, save that. And let's refresh here. All right, so let's see what's going on. Add class name is not a function. All right, fair enough. Not a function. Don't do this one. We need to remove this. We need to make it instead of class name add is equal. And this is the L circle class. Yes, that is correct. This is string. Save that. All right, class name add is not a function. All right, so I'll just have to check here. Is it class name or class list? Do class list. Let's try the other one. All right, fair enough. Final mistake. Sorry, this is the only one I tend to mistake myself quite often. Save that. Why are we missing something? Alt text. Here, add class name alt text. So I will just check what's going on here. Oh, sorry, while I was looking at that, I just realized quickly, immediately as well, that these two are not consistent as well. That's why it's giving the error, so this should be changed. Class list. So there are two. There's class name and class list. So I tend to mistake them. Alright, so there we are. So now we get these, but you can see here we get multiple, and I guess what we can do here, maybe fine tune it a little bit, but it's okay for now. However, this is basically what we do want to have. So we're getting here, and we're getting close, except for the colors are still not matching with whatever we have. So that's what we're going to do right now. So what we can do here is basically do a few things, because we add up a class here, and what we can do in the class here, we can assign, we don't have to assign colors. We can assign the colors in JavaScript, but we can do, say here, border radius, and we say border, and then we say solid 1 pixel for now. The color I leave out, and then we're going to assign it below. Same as the background color. Alright, go down here, put in this here, and what we're going to do here is basically, because we're in the for loop here, remember this, so we can use now the tricks of the for loop. So we're going to say here the following. Well, we need the background colors. So I'm going to, before here above, we're going to make a new constant, and we say here, constant, and then I'll just give it legend, BG for background color. And what is exactly what we're going to get? Well, simply this here. You're going to get the background color by my chart data, data sets, and then background color. So we say here my chart data sets, put it on 0, and then here dot background color. Alright, that's the first one, and then we have another one that's not the background color but the border color. I'll call it legend border. Then here we'll change this from background color to border color, and I'll show you why. This will be border color. Why? Well, exactly same. We go from my chart data sets, border color instead of background color. So we grab these colors here. Alright, so we get this here, and the only thing what I eventually want is a specific value once we are in here. So we say here the following. We're going to say here on the circle, then we say dot style, then we say dot background color is capital C equals legend BG. Very simple. Same here for the legend circle style border color. Border color equals legend border. And once we've got this, we're almost done here. So let's save this and see what happens now. Alright, as you see here, but there's one tiny issue, but don't worry about that. So let's solve that one as well. So we have this one, and I realize here, of course, this doesn't make any sense. What I did, I forgot to indicate the specific value here. We got that one. Maybe we can even remove that. I will just put in this here. Well, this is the array, so we can just put in here an I. Let's do that one first, see if this works. If not, we can just grab this one here, but I guess this should work. If I save this here, there you are. So now we got this one, and then we see here is 0. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, alright. The reason why this one is currently doing weird is because this is our hard-coded version. Now we can remove the hard-coded version because we have a loop with soft-coded values. Alright, next part. We're very close to this here now. What I want to do next is, of course, I want to get this red and the values here. If you understand what we just did here, you probably figured out now how we can add up the items. So let me show you how, just to be sure. We add up this one. We say here legend border, legend background color. We say here my chart data, data sets data, and then we go to what do we need? Oh, sorry, we need the labels. So my chart data, labels, and then we grab whatever color we need. Same story here. So I say here legend labels. Then we say my chart data, and then here just labels. All right, that's the first one. And next one we want is we want to have the data value or the data points here. So with my chart data sets, and then the data itself. So here constant, it's a legend data equals, I'll just grab this for simplicity, and then here we just get the data set and then dot data. All right, so we've got all of this. Now I can just grab this, and all I want to do here is the following. I want to create here what we call a text node. So we can say here the following. In here, in this span, we will be adding the text of the color red plus the value. So we can say here text node. So I will call it the legend text node. All right, that's probably fine. Say document dot create text node. And in here we can start to put in what we want. Well, what do we want? Well, simply this. We want a few things. We might want to have like a hard-coded data in here. So we could do this. We can say here a string quotation as a string, and we say here USD price. I have no idea. And then we say here plus for concatenation, and then we do the text node. Here, what are we going to add up? Well, we're going to add up the legend labels. We put in here the 0, and then we do again a plus. Plus, well, maybe you want to have some space between, so we put in here a plus space, and then we do here legend data. Well, what we could do, maybe you have USD price. I think that would make more sense. We do it here. Move this one out of the way here, and we put in 0. You can put this one here at the end, and that will be it. All right. So once we have this text node, we need to make sure that we append this text node here. Why? This text node here, basically we add up a new text, but this is still not yet incorporated into the legend text. So this text node is considered a child in the text or the span the span element. That's the right term. So what we're going to do here is now I will say here the legend texts. Then we say here append child, because this is the parent. And then what we're going to include is the L text node. So once we have this, and we can save this now and refresh. Now we have everything as desired. We have the USD price, which is hard coded, $12. And red, all right, don't worry, we have this 0. So what I want to put in here is I to loop that through. I again, here loop it through. There we are. So now we get all of this. What we can do here maybe is to add up some padding. We can do that basically in the L text. So what I'm going to do in the L text here, make a class. And here we say padding 5 pixels. Let's see what happens then. That looks slightly better, but I'm sure you can probably do some more things. The only thing what I do want to do here is in the price. I'll just put in here this bracket or was it column space. Save that, refresh, there we are. Font size, everything, well, that's just CSS. All right, so we've got now all of this, but we don't have this effect yet. So that's what we're going to do here now. The moment we click on this, we want to create this on-click effect. So for that, I will just quickly search how we can insert them in here as a on-click. Or basically what we can do as well is we can do, maybe that's even better, is to have a function that indicates the moment we are on click and grab it, but I'll just search for the specific term for that one. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the click part, and after searching for it, I found one solution that would be probably the best one, and this is the following. So we're going to put in LP, and LP is of course the legend paragraph, and then we say here set attribute, and then we're going to put in here a parentheses, and then here pay attention because this might be a tricky one. We say here first on click, and then we put in a comma, and this is a string, remember, but now we're not going to use a string here. We're going to use a backtick, that's the right term, the backtick here, because we're going to use a, what is this? This is the object, if I'm not mistaken, the object literals. And here we're going to put in the function name. So this will be the toggle legend. And then in here, we will say, and this is the reason why we're using the object literals, or template literals if I'm not mistaken, sorry, template literals. And then what we're going to do here is the $, and then we do the curly braces, and then in here we put in the I. So the reason why we're doing this is because now it reads this as a standard text, but it understands that this here is a specific value. So we are concatenating it in a better way, because if you would just only do I, it will create an error. And if you would do this here, you might say, well, this might work. Well, this creates an error as well. So we don't do this at all. So we go back here, $, and then we have these curly braces and an I between here. All right, once we have this, then we're done here. So what will happen is now we create an Onclick with a specific number here, and the number is of course depending on the I or iteration value. So if I save this now and refresh, open up the developer tab, look at this, you will see here now toggle legend 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, if we click on it, nothing happens. We get an error button here or error message. Why? Because we didn't define it yet. So now it's time to define it, and basically then we're almost, well, we're basically done, unless you want to have some nice design. But all right, what we're going to do here is the following. We will say here function, and this function is called toggle legend, and this toggle legend we're going to put in the following. We say here value, and the reason why we wanted this here, this argument, because here the parameter will be used consistently. In here we're going to do the following, and I'm going to show you one, and this is a very useful one to remember, because when I tried to figure out this, I couldn't find it, but eventually I found one that is very powerful, that will work on bar chart, line chart, pie chart, any type of chart, no problem at all. While my previous issue was we didn't work on every chart, only on the bar and the line chart, and the polar chart and the donut chart had an issue with it. So what you're going to do here is you go here on getting started on Chart.js, go to the developers, click on API. Here on API you have all these options here, and we scroll down here somewhere. Let's see here, where are we? Data set visibility. No, that's not the one. We want the toggle data visibility here with the number. So this is the one we're going to get, and what will happen, it will toggle the data, not the data set, but the data itself, only that specific data. All right, so we grab this. We have to grab it later on as well, or we can just type that, that's no problem. Paste it in here, and we can remove this, and we just copy this here, the value. So depending on which button we press, it will toggle. Of course, remove this, we say here my chart. Why? Because we pinpoint, of course, the chart that we had here. And then once we did that, we need to do only one more thing here. Press enter, dot update, and then save this. Once we save that, go back here, refresh. Now if we click on it, there we are, and look, as you can see, we're now working the same thing. And of course you might say, well, how can we do the CSS more? Well, of course, you went on click, you can give it a specific design here, or the toggle with the CSS when it will be striped through or not. However, this is basically the way you can do it, and with this it will create your own legend. If you really want to do it, I would suggest you probably add up here a toggle with a option. So let me show you, maybe that will be a useful one. We are going to create a toggle version as well, because what we're going to do here is this here will not show if it's toggle yes or no, or well, let's double check here if we have that, just to make sure to complete it. So we say here this, and then I want to do only here console.log. I only know if this toggle value is true or false. So if I save this now, open up developer tab, if I click on it, do I find anything? No, nothing at all. So this is not possible. So what we can do, we can remove this here, go back here, just make sure that everything is working, of course. So it's undefined, so we need to make sure that this is visible. So how can we do it? Well, I will show you the easiest way to do it. We can say here the following. We will get the item with, well, what we can add up here, and I guess we need to maybe give it a number where we can say the specific class as well. We need to go in here. And what we need to do is basically this. We need to add up a class in here, and this class will be depending on whatever we have. So let's look here. And let's see where we need to go. We need to go on this LP. And this LP has, if I'm not mistaken, has no specific class specified. Let's go here, HTML, no, specifically the paragraph. And if I look at this here, oh, there we are. Push this down. This paragraph only has a Onclick option here. What I want to do here, then I want to add up here a specific class. We can add up a class here to make this paragraph work well with the toggle. So we say here the following. I'm going to add up a class here. We will say LP dot. Then we can say here class list add, basically the same. Oh, I'll just copy this part. Paste is in here, but what I want to do here is just to make sure. I want to make here, I will say here paragraph or par, and then undo here concatenation. Let's see if this is possible. Then we concatenate plus I. If I save this, let's see if we will get that. There you are. Now we get the plus I. So we get now the paragraph value consistently. So now we can easily add up the specific value here. So the following, what we're going to do is this. We're going to say here the following, or what we can do here. We have this here, and what we're going to do is we're going to toggle that. And let me double check how we can do this. All right, we're going to do the following. We're going to say here a constant, and this constant is, or well, we don't have to do a constant here. All right, so I just figured out quickly. I was just thinking how we're going to do it. We can do the following. We will say here query selector. And then we say here document dot query selector. So we're going to specifically search for the query. And what's the query going to search for, which is a string? We say dot par for paragraph and then class value. All right. So once we got that, the only thing that we can do here, I will make it a constant, or this should be maybe a little, well, this can be a constant. So only the function will loop one time. So constant, and then we say here toggle class, and then what we're going to add up here is basically toggle class. So then we say here toggle class dot, and then we can say here class list dot toggle. Then we're going to add up here a new class. And what's the class name? Well, we can just give it a very simple class name, which is the following. And here what we're going to do is add up the, let's say, selected or stripe. I would say just stripe or strike. That's the right term. It will be strike through. So once we add up this specific class here on the click, toggle class, this will be add on this. So this should work. So if I save this now and refresh, let's see. All right, so we get an issue here. The query selector is not a function. Toggle legend. Let's double check what's going on. So the moment I click on that, does it show here par 1? I guess this does not work. All right. Toggle class document. Oh, not select. Selector. Sorry. Save that. Refresh. Try again. There you are. You can see here this is strike. So now if you click on it, the strike removes. Alright, so now final thing here, this is the final thing, and this video has been, I guess, slightly too long, sorry about that, but I guess this is suitable. And then we say here style, I guess it's text decoration. Text decoration. If I'm not implementing strike through, true. Let's save that and double check if this is exactly the right item here. No. Alright, so I quickly search for the official term. It's line through. Sorry. Not strike through, but line through. So the moment now, if you click on this, you can see here now we have this strike through effect. And if I click on this, this, and this, there you are. So now we have our own custom HTML completely working with this. And if we change it to a bar chart, you'll see it will be also working. It works on every chart possible, so which is very nice. So if I save this now, refresh, there we are. Beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. So with this, we're basically ending the entire item. And with this, you can add up here your solid data. And if you have an array, you can put in an array. Basically, how would you do that? Same here. What you're going to do in here is basically you add up the array in here. Could be an array of, let's say, currency array, and then you could loop through the on the value depending on your array. And that's basically how you can do it. This was a quite long video, but really goes into detail of everything. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you enjoy this video, you probably will enjoy this one as well. And if you're interested in Chart.js, check out in the description box the link directing to my Chart.js course where you can learn everything about Chart.js. And finally, of course, make sure you subscribe to my channel.